This is Marie from Funding for Good, and today we're going to tackle a topic that seems to be of great interest when Mandy and I are out in the community teaching at small business centers and organizations across the country. And this is charitable solicitation licenses, who needs it and why. So if you are a nonprofit working in the United States of America, more than likely you have or should have heard of a charitable solicitation license. I'm going to give you a little background today, and then I'm going to show you how you might go about finding out whether or not you need to apply and how to do that on this free little tour. So to start out with, we're going to use North Carolina's page as our guide today, but I want to point out one quick thing. Most recent reports state that there are 9 states that do not require charitable solicitation licenses. Those are Delaware, Iowa, Idaho, Indiana, Montana, Nebraska, South Dakota, Vermont, and Wyoming. So if you are in any of those 9 states, currently you are not required to have a charitable solicitation license in order to fundraise, but be sure to check in with your state, make sure your accountant stays up to date on nonprofit laws and finances, because these things can change with different statutes and different bills passing in your state legislature. So let's jump in today, but I just wanted to put that disclaimer out. The other 41 states, if you reside in any of the other 41 states or your nonprofit is headquartered in any of those states, you are going to want to check in with your Secretary of State. In some counties, or I won't say counties, in some states it may be the different office, and we're going to look at that here in a minute. But we're going to just jump over. I'm going to show you a web page. It's this link that you're seeing at the top of your page right now. And I'm just going to go over here and hit search. I've already got that little website up in the search bar, and we're just going to hit it. So if you go to the North Carolina Secretary of State website and you just look up charitable solicitation licenses, this is what's going to come up. This should be similar for every state that requires it, but I just wanted to give you a walkthrough so you know what you're looking for. First, you're going to see an exemption list. There are several organizations that do not have to apply for a charitable solicitation license. Every state will have their exemption list. So if you click on this one right here, you'll see any person who solicits charitable contributions for a religious institution. So churches would not, in many states, fall under this requirement. Any charitable contributions by federal, state, or local government or their agencies. So if you do not fundraise outside of government funds, then you might be exempt as well. Anyone who receives less than $25,000 in contributions. So if you are running a very small grassroots organization and your operating budget is $18,000, $19,000, $20,000 a year, you would be exempt in North Carolina for having to get a charitable solicitation license. Now, those are based on your prior year's tax returns, or if you're a brand new startup, it will be based on your projected income. Each year, your accountant or whoever does your finances will need to submit a report to the state. If you reach that threshold of $25,000 or more, you will need to file for a charitable solicitation license, at least in North Carolina. There are other institutions that do not have to have one, certain educational institutions, specific hospitals, non-commercial radio or television, community trust, volunteer fire departments, young men's Christian associations, so that's essentially the YMCA, and nonprofits, continuing care facilities, and you will see the other exemptions here. So every state is going to have a list of exemptions. So I encourage you to look at this, make sure that you are not on that exemption list because you don't want to spend money or time, or you don't have to. If you do not find yourself on that list, you're going to go down and you're going to look at a few other things. So fundraising consultants and solicitors are also required to have this. As fundraisers with Funding for Good, we do have a charitable solicitation license. So any client that reaches out to us and says, hey, can you help us raise money? Can you teach us how to do this writing campaign or this annual mailing campaign? We have to ask the question, do you have a charitable solicitation license? Because in order for us to accept a contract as a licensed fundraising consulting agency, we have to submit a contract to the state before taking on any new fundraising clients. When we submit that, we have to present the charitable solicitation license number for the organization we seek to work with. If the state runs that organization and finds they do not have one, then you could be fined several $1,000s for lack of compliance. They may give you a little grace period, but in general, there is a fee associated if you have failed to file for that registration. If we are fundraising without that license, then we can be fined. So it behooves us as fundraisers and those who are also fundraising for organizations or at a professional consulting level to get this license, especially here in North Carolina. Now, every organization will pay a fee for this charitable solicitation license, and it's based on a fee scale. So if you click here on the North Carolina link, you will see the fee scale, and you'll see fee amounts. So if you received less than, then you don't have to pay anything. If you received less than $5,000, then you may get a license, and this may be over that amount. So you go on through, and it looks like the maximum level, and this is my experience, that anything over 200 is not normal. So $200 is usually going to be the maximum fee that you will pay for this charitable solicitation license on an annual basis. With the nonprofits we've worked for and with in the past, usually this is filed at the end of the year in the fall, and it covers you through your next fundraising or calendar year. It depends on when you filed it. You will want to make sure that you check out your state's guidelines and figure out how much you're going to owe, make the checks payable to the right entity, and then move forward from there. So that is a little bit about North Carolina's process. And you see here, all license applications within 10 days must be processed. So they will process these quickly. You will get a nice little thing in the mail, at least from North Carolina, that you can hang up in your office, that you can have it available. Some grants will actually ask if you have a charitable solicitation fee. So this is very, very helpful information to have, and make sure you keep it on hand. So let's just say that you are not in North Carolina and you want to find out if your state has one. Easy tool that we all know, Google. Just go to nonprofit charitable solicitation, and you could put California. Let's just put California in here, and you can go through. You'll see a little statement here, and you can find right here, filing a complaint, nonprofit registrations, and here's a solicitation license for California. Let me go to registration. You might want to put right here. So if you put registration, nonprofit charitable solicitation registration instead of just solicitation, it should take you closer to the site you're looking for. Here you will notice that California's charitable solicitation law is a little bit different than the other states, and that nonprofits must register with the Attorney General's Registry of Charitable Trusts within 30 days after it initially receives any money or property for charitable purposes. So let's say that you've been operating, you don't have a charitable solicitation license. What do you do about that? Very simply, don't continue to operate out of compliance. Get on the internet. It takes just a few minutes to fill this out. Have your accountant, your treasurer, someone from your organization fill this information out and get that filed. As soon as you have that filed, it's a very quick process. So I encourage you to do that. If you need any other information about this topic, you can jump over to Funding for Good's webpage. And I'm clicking you over there right now. You see us going onto this all the time. Head over to Funding for Good. Head up to the search bar. We're just going to type in, and you can do this for any word your heart desires, charitable solicitation license. And if you type it in there, we have some little nifty blogs about this topic. The first one that shows up is the top 5 things every nonprofit should know about a charitable solicitation license. So once again, every state has different qualifications, different exemptions, different fee scales. But if you do not know if your organization has a charitable solicitation license, you need to ask your accountant, ask your treasurer. Then you need to make sure that you are in compliance. Being in compliance means that you can solicit funds through mailing campaigns, through social media, through fundraising, special events. Any way that you're soliciting dollars for your mission, that counts as fundraising. So if you're doing those things, your state requires a charitable solicitation license and you have not registered for one, you are out of compliance, you're not compliant, and you could be susceptible to a fee. So once again, something every nonprofit should know. We are surprised every time we go into public that organizations say, wow, I didn't know that. So we thought we would bring you this little tidbit of information today. Thank you for taking the time to join us. We hope to see you on some of our upcoming webinars. And if you have any questions, feel free to pop us a message over on Funding for Good's Facebook page or pop us an email. Have a great day.